Hello and welcome to Auto and Operator, the podcast that discusses everything open wheel racing related. Hi, I'm your co-host, Andrew Miller. This is the Indy Gp Debrief. Let's start out by discussing what does everyone think about the Indy GP? Obviously, you're at IMS, okay? It may or may not be a good start to the month of May for the Indy 500 fans. Is it confusing that there's two IndyCar races in May? You know, does it confuse fans? Do really only the diehard fans show up and the Indy 500 fans, you know, are not confused? They don't know otherwise. You know, I don't know how widely they necessarily promote the Indy GP. Obviously, it's a much more family-friendly event like many other IndyCar races outside the Indy 500, in that, you know, there's no loud music or parties that I know of. You know, when I went in 2014, it was super chill atmosphere, good accessibility to the cars, and so on and so forth. Yeah, what does everyone think about the event? I personally think it's awesome. You know, in 2014, it was maybe a little muted, but I bet you this year, I mean, the people we had on the ground this weekend, one, of course, being our own co-host Derek Miller, they said the atmosphere was really good and that there was quite a few fans. I have not seen a number yet, but it looked like there were quite a few fans there. I think it's a good event. I mean, obviously, it's probably one of the better road courses, maybe not in terms of quality. You know, probably Barber or Road America or even Watkins Glen would take that designation, but I think it's got a good flow to it, and obviously it's probably the best surface in terms of not being overly abrasive. It's really smooth. You know, they get up to almost 190 miles an hour on the straight, and you know, there's lots of fast corners, lots of sweeping corners. I think, you know, it's a solid track. It's way better than the Formula One track that was used from 2000 to 2007. You know, while I really like the old Mickey Mouse corner, if any of you remember that, back in the Formula One days, the cars went so slow through there that you could see them so close up. That was really cool. But I can totally understand. I think the visibility of the cars is practically as good now. They've added mounds, and I think it's a great event. I think it's fun to see all the Mazda Road to Indy Series race there as well. So it's a proper road course. I think it's a good start to the year. I don't know what everyone else thinks. Please let us know. Will Power takes the victory. Finally, it's been a long time coming, even though we're early into the season. He's been so quick, but he's had you know, a few mistakes. You know, obviously Long Beach was silly to try to race with Charlie Kimball, and you know, both in Barber and last race in Phoenix. I mean, he had some bad luck. So at the end of the day, Power, very deserving winner, and you know, who knows, he might go on a tear from now until the end of the year. Helio Castroneves, not sure why that guy always fades, but definitely his strategy wasn't on point, going on blacks at the end. He's fast. He is a conundrum. As Derek mentioned at the beginning of the year, you know, I'm kind of indifferent about him. It's like, okay, he's fast, but he's not getting the job done per se. He's always like at the top of the timesheets, you know, in practice, qualifying, and even the race, he's like in that top 5 range, but it's like, gosh, he didn't have that last little bit of speed. So, you know, that being said, it's like, is he really worth getting rid of? You know, Penske's point of view, it's like, gosh, he's really consistent. I mean, he's getting points. He's not crashing a lot. So yeah, I'm sure he brings a huge contribution to the team in terms of his experience and so on and so forth, to like drivers like Newgarden for sure, who had kind of an indifferent weekend in and of himself. This weekend, I felt like the pendulum swung, if you will, and the drivers, from the drivers that have had, you know, difficulties at the beginning of the year, bad luck, so on and so forth. The pendulum finally swung back in their direction, and I think, guys like Graham Rahal was able to get a good result. Ryan Hunter-Reay, obviously Will Power getting the victory. I mean, they finally got a break, and Scott Dixon continues. He's probably getting tired of finishing second. They don't have that last little bit of speed. He mentioned in his interview that he couldn't literally hook up the rear tires, that the Honda had a lot of power. So I don't know if he's just trying to stroke Honda a little bit or, give some sort of half-hearted excuse. But it may be the reality. Who knows? Obviously, we will see in the Indianapolis 500 just how strong that Honda engine is that everyone keeps talking about. An honorable mention has to go to Spencer Pigot, who's just absolutely outshone. I mean, even with the penalty finishing in the top 10, he has outshone JR all year, in my opinion. And obviously now Hildebrand has his hand to hide behind, but he's certainly not going to be making any excuses because he needs to get his ass in gear. For someone who claims not to be an oval specialist, he is certainly an oval specialist. So, JR's got to watch out. I mean, he was obviously good in Phoenix, but he'll probably be good in Indianapolis in May here. But it's like Spencer Pigot deserves that full-time ride next year already. I think he deserves it. So hopefully the momentum continues for him. He had a really tough start, last year when he was given a similar role and at the Ed Carpenter racing team, or at least I believe he was last year racing for them. I mean, he had a really tough time. But you know what? He's evolved really well. And I think it just goes to show IndyCar is a bit of a shock to the rookies, even if they've gone through the Mazda road to Indy. And that, I think that is due to how aggressive you need to be in the series. You really need to get the job done. You need to bang wheels a little bit, and I like that. No doubt about it. You can't just have a good strategy only. You need to be good at racing. At the end of the day, and so that means you got to be confident in your car as well. Also, Max Chilton, he had a really good race. Can't say he didn't. I mean, at the end of the day, he had a pretty swift lap times. I think he had a good strategy. Strategy really didn't come into this race a lot, which I like because it was a green flag. When nobody's moving slowly, there isn't a whole lot of strategy to come into play. You just need to get some good lap times. And so, that makes me all the more disappointed that Alexander Rossi wasn't able to put up much of a fight today. I hope to find out why, but definitely didn't have the pace. Lap 30, they were telling him to turn down the engine already, so I don't know if he was using up too much fuel or what. And because RHR certainly had a good race, and he had a much slower start to the race, so I wonder if Alexander was just a little bit too hot right out of the box. So that wraps up our debrief. Quite simple race, nothing to write home about per se, but another solid round in the books. Any race, in my opinion, without cautions is worth watching. It's worth enjoying the cars negotiating, watching those cars negotiate the road course, and they had really good, I think, footage of everything. The event's great. It's a great kickoff for May. Now Fernando Alonso is going to be coming to Indy. We're going to get all the testing started today as I'm recording this, and both Derek and I will continually update the podcast probably 2 or 3 times before the Indianapolis 500. So be watching out for that. We'll be discussing all the latest, kind of news, gossip, discussions within the paddock. As Derek mentioned, he has quite an insider's view, being on the ground there, doing his work. So let us know what you think of the podcast. Have a good rest of your day.